The two knives are a Spyderco Para 3 and a Para Military 2 in Rex 45. Rex 45 is a steel made by Crucible. It's a CPM steel, and it was made to be a high cobalt modification of M3 high-speed steel. Rex 45 is very similar in composition to Hitachi's HAP 40. I've worked with HAP 40 quite a bit. I've tested with it. I've done videos on it in the past. So when I heard that Rex 45 was coming out in several models, I was very interested, thinking to myself, HAP 40 on American models, you know, the Para 3, Para 2, the military, that really caught my attention, and I was looking forward to that. Rex 45, composition-wise, you're talking about 1.3 carbon, 4.05 chromium, 5% moly, 8% cobalt, a little bit of sulfur, 6.25 tungsten, and 3.05 vanadium. So it's got an interesting composition to it. Edge retention should be very good. As far as toughness is concerned, it's really a matter of the RC, of how hard they take the steel and heat treat. Rex 45 can go up pretty high in hardness. I mean, 67 is not out of the question, and at that point on a Sharpie C-notch test, you're talking 20 joules. That's pretty low. That's lower than S90V. It's lower than 440C, at least the way that we typically see them. At 66.5 RC, you're talking 24 joules, and at 65 RC, you're talking 27 joules. 27 is starting to get better. A step above S90V, starting to approach D2. There was some discussion about what the hardness of these was going to be, and I heard that Sal Glesser came out on the Spyderco forum and said that they were getting numbers like 66 on these. I'm not sure if that was a prototype or what went into that. I know that there was a fellow on Instagram who got one of these, and Rockwell tested it, and it came out at 64. So at 64, you're probably talking a little bit over 30 joules as far as the Sharpie C-notch, which is pretty good. I mean, that's you're probably talking above D2, and you're talking about it with a knife that's at 64 Rockwell, which is really good as far as toughness is concerned, given the hardness of the steel. That coupled with the composition of it, you're gonna get some great performance out of it. I don't think that it's as tough as M4. According to Crucible, it's a little bit less toughness than M4 and a little bit less edge retention. But again, what is the M4 coming in at? What RC are you getting the M4 at, both for edge retention and for toughness? These things, you know, they're going to be deciding factors there. So I got both of these at the same time, and when I got them, initially I sharpened the Para 3 and started carrying it. The sharpening that I did was a mix of diamond and ceramic. The edge that came up was phenomenal. I had no complaints about it. It was what I expected to get out of the steel. It comes up, using diamond and ceramic, it comes up ultra aggressive. I've sharpened HAP 40 with Shaptons and gotten it hair whittling. But if you compare that, again, HAP 40, not Rex 45, but the steels are very similar. If you compare the results between Shaptons and a diamond and ceramic sharpening, there's no aggression with the Shaptons. It's much better sharpening using diamond and ceramic. So initially, I mean, just going into this, I figured that's how I would handle this steel, and I was very pleased with the results. I didn't start carrying the Para Military 2 right away because I figured I wanted to test it. I had some discussion with a friend of mine, and we were back and forth about how the steel was going to perform in comparison to HAP 40. And discussion about heat treat and everything. You know, how is the heat treat going to be handled for the American models as opposed to the Japanese models? And what would play into that, and what difference would that make, and how far were they going to push the heat treat of these models? I was very much expecting Rex 45 to be right on par with HAP 40. I didn't think that there was going to be a significant difference either way, but I wanted to test it. This is Spyderco Endura in HAP 40. I've used this knife for multiple tests. I've tested HAP 40 quite a bit. From the tests that I've done, the conclusion that I've come to is HAP 40 lands between Super Blue and M4 in edge retention. I wanted to test Rex 45 and just get an answer, because if Rex 45 performs the same as HAP 40, fine. I've got a lot of data that I can go off of. I've got a good handle on how HAP 40 performs. I figured that's exactly what was going to happen, but I wanted to test it. I went ahead and sharpened both knives, starting with coarse diamond plate, DMT. Worked with that, then moved on to a fine DMT plate, and then an extra fine plate. Then I finished with a Spyderco ultrafine stone ceramic. And then I stropped both models, starting with 4 micron on leather and then 1 micron on leather. Both models were hair whittling sharp, very aggressive edges. They sharpened in the same amount of time. I mean, there was a lot of similarities there. The test was push cutting cardboard using about 1 inch of blade. The stopping point was when the knives would no longer shave hair. Going through the test, the cuts were made at the same speed, one knife after the other. So Para 2, Endura, Para 2, Endura. Moving along, the cardboard was all from the same box. It had been kept in the same place since I got it. No piece was any dirtier than any other, or wetter than any other, or anything like that. It was consistency across the board. In the end, HAP 40 cut 924 inches of cardboard before it would stop shaving hair. Rex 45 cut 1122 inches before it would stop shaving hair. That's a significant difference. It's a lot more than I expected. I would have been, you know, not surprised at 4, 5, 6% difference, but that's a big difference. I mean, there's 198 inches difference there. 198 is 17% of 1122. So yeah, that's a lot. I was really surprised at that. It wasn't what I was expecting, so the private discussions I had with other knife guys, steel guys, and testers, you know, I was wrong, because I really expected the two steels to function the same. Now, at the same time, I'm kind of happy because, you know, I just got 2 knives in this steel, and it's performing like a powerhouse. So there's your upside to it. After the test, you know, and really this is one test. I don't know what this knife is Rockwelled at. Like I said, a fellow on Instagram checked his knife and it was Rockwelled at 64. There was discussion about some of the models being Rockwelled at 66. I don't know if this is at 65 or 64. I don't know. Maybe I'll have it tested just to find out. But I also don't know what this knife in HAP 40 is Rockwelled at. So, you know, take it for what it is. It is fair to say that Rex 45 is going to perform very good from these models this run. It sharpens very well. It holds an edge very well. the toughness is, it's not subpar. It's not, you know, it's not crew wear tough. It's not 3V tough. Frankly, it's not even M4 tough, I don't think, but it's still, you know, above, probably, I would guess, probably above D2 or in that area. And that's D2 at 59 RC, so not goofy, you know, 60, 61, 62 D2. So as far as toughness goes, it should be fine. I don't expect chipping issues. After the test, you know, for the test, I'm only using the bottom part of the blade, and here I went to all the trouble to sharpen the whole thing, bring the entire edge up. So I decided to chew into a pine board for a minute and then see what kind of sharpness I had when it was done. What I came up with was, you know, I had to work for it a bit, but the edge was still able to cut a free hanging hair. This is the piece of footage that I got. So I just put that, you know, I just throw that piece of footage out there as an argument to anybody who says, you know, hair whittling edge will be gone after the first cut. I mean, keep in mind, this edge had been getting bounced around, picked up and put down, and had tape over it. I hadn't cleaned it. I was just kind of going with it and kind of haphazardly cutting into the board, not planning to check against the hair when I was done. I was thinking, why not use it a little bit, maybe get some footage for the video of using the knife a little bit outside of the test. I only decided to grab a hair that was laying off camera in the moment, and was actually surprised that it was able to cut it, but it does speak to the stability and edge retention of the steel. After the test was done, cutting the wood and everything, I needed to sharpen the knife again. Starting on a coarse DMT diamond plate, I really wanted to remove all the steel. The knife had really been dulled down between, you know, the wood and especially the cardboard. So worked with a DMT coarse, then moved on to a DMT fine and worked with that. And then I moved on to the combination stone from Ken Schwartz, working with his 3000 grit diamond plate. I worked with that, and I've been using that combination stone quite a bit, enjoying the 3000 grit diamond so far. I worked with that. I had apexed the knife on every stone and then moved on to the Spyderco Ultrafine. Worked with that, no problem. Did great with the steel. After that, I moved on to strops, starting with a 4 micron and then moving on to a 1 micron. And then I worked with a 1/4 micron on basswood, and then moved on to a 1/10 of a micron on basswood. The 1 micron, 1/4 micron, and 1/10 of a micron are all from Ken Schwartz. And I recently picked up the 1/4 and 1/10 of a micron because I wanted to see what it would do with the steel. I'm going to be working with those more. I'm going to make some new leather strops and use them on that. I'm interested to see what they do with some low vanadium steels. But what I found with Rex 45 was that the edge came up very well. The entire length of the blade was easily able to cut a free hanging hair. It was no problem. And with a slight change of approach from the knife to the hair, it was able to whittle the hair repeatedly. So I was very pleased with the edge. I'm very pleased with the steel. It sharpens really, really well. I really enjoy it from that aspect. I think that Spyderco did a good job with this run. I wasn't surprised that the knives came out in burnt orange, but they seem to do a good job putting, there doesn't seem to be any quality issues with the run. So I'm very happy with it and looking forward to using the steel more. Again, I was surprised at the test result. I really expected HAP 40 to be right on par with Rex 45, but Rex 45 was a significant step ahead. So it'll be interesting carrying this steel. I haven't had a chance with the Para 3 to carry it enough to really see the lifespan of an edge. So it'll be interesting to do that and see how long it holds up and how it breaks down. So very happy with this sprint run. I think Spyderco did a good job with it.